Hi, there's some good information come out recently in the Nepean area, which is also sort of known as the Penrith district, an area, of course, where St Mary's lies. Now, Penrith is a strategic area of Sydney. In fact, there's 5 strategic cities within the Greater Sydney region. They are Sydney Central themselves, the CBD of North Sydney, Parramatta, of course. One is Penrith, and the other one is actually Liverpool. So Penrith is a really important area. It's got a huge catchment area of people. There is essentially a huge health network there and a massive education precinct. St Mary's sits in this sector. It's very close to both the health and education precincts of the Greater Penrith local government area. So when we're thinking of St Mary's, we also need to think of some of the considerations of the business sector of Penrith, the health and education, and also any other technical or research precincts as well. So Penrith itself is becoming one of Australia's premier destinations for health, education and medical research, and over the next 10 years there's going to be some massive expansions to the hospital system and education system, which really is the University of Western Sydney, the University of Sydney, Western Sydney Institute. They're really the main campuses out west. And we're talking about thousands upon thousands of people being educated. It's one of Sydney's biggest networks for education. So there's a metropolitan strategy, and every government has a sort of 30-year plan. And in Sydney, that's known as the Metro Plan 2036. And what that basically is, the state government identifies areas where state government influence needs to be created, because that actually creates a community-based situation. If the health and education precincts are alive, then certainly that can help more people, and so those areas are fast growing from a population point of view. So there's a bit of an alliance right now between the New South Wales government and the local council to make sure that things are going to move ahead. And so the local government hospital there is a long-standing hospital. It's got a huge timeline to it, and it's grown from literally a little, what would be an historic building now, into one of Australia's largest hospitals, and certainly one of Sydney's. Besides Westmead Hospital, which is the largest, which is located in Parramatta, the Nepean area has a huge hospital precinct. I believe it's this, the second and third biggest, both private and public. So pretty good. So the structure plan for Penrith Health and Education, now there's going to be some massive expansions, and there's been some urban land set aside for more campuses, particularly with the University of Western Sydney and its associated TAFE. So as you can see on the map, there's literally land set aside for the growth of this this ever-growing industry. There's going to be a health industry park, and if we look at Kingswood, which is a suburb nearby St Mary's, on the edge or the fringe of that, there's some available land, which is all owned by the health precinct and education precinct. And this has got huge opportunity because it's one of the fastest growing sectors within that particular area. So they've done some sort of research into these type of precincts and what kind of multiplier effect these precincts have as they grow on surrounding sort of jobs. And so there's some interesting case studies which we'll include in the information that we send out with the deal. It's well worth a read. You know, it talks about how many people are associated with these quite large industries that we can expect some income generated locally. So the context of regional employment is sort of put out, which is pretty good. Look, I'll read this statement out. By 2050, the regional catchment that the precinct serves will grow from actually 2 million to 4 million, including central New South Wales. So because Penrith sits on the gateway to the Blue Mountains and the mountain ranges that lie around Sydney, there's a catchment area that sprawls beyond into the central west, up towards the Katoomba region, Lithgow, and the next biggest hospital there is actually in the city of Orange. So the catchment area is huge that the Penrith Health and Education Precinct will serve. The next nearest university is actually Bathurst. So, and they're some 2.5 hours away. So you can imagine the pool of people that this particular precinct serves is absolutely huge. And because it's such a vast amount of people it's needing to serve, the jobs and education in health are some of the primary industries that grow the Penrith economic corridor. So there's some more studies which we'll put in the kit about regional employment, the context, the multiplier effect, and really what the state government's got. A lot of the extracts of this are out of the State Government 2036 plan. But essentially, I mean, one major benefit is the idea of the expansion of health, bringing on some 13,000 new jobs directly into the area, which is good. So Penrith Health and Education Precincts, there's some visuals. As you can see, the land there is quite robust. It's been well planned for the future. And when we sort of purchase properties out there in Western Sydney, it's good to sort of associate yourself with a strategic business centre and a strategic urban environment. And that's why St Mary's we think is quite good value based on the fact that it's connected to one of the top 5 intra-regional cities within the city landscape itself. From a state government town plan, or a SEP, which is the state environmental plan, is a very strategic place for Sydney. It needs, essentially, it creates a core operational facility in Sydney. So you're not buying out west in the middle of nowhere, you're actually buying next to the 5th largest and most important city within the intra-regional market. So there's a lot of course, with hospitals, there tends to be a lot of development in the forms of healthcare and tech health, which is essentially, advancements in healthcare. So there's a lot of science and so forth that goes with that. And it's all being positioned out in that, essentially in that corridor. There's huge university precincts, TAFE, and really around that St Mary's area in Kingswood, which is just really a small suburb, which is basically all of the TAFEs and the education precinct itself. You're finding this rapid expansion of universities and so forth. So I just wanted to touch base on it because it is in the property summary, and it is an attachment that we've put in, and I think it's well worth a read when you get a chance. There's plenty of good information on jobs and where and what is going to happen in Penrith, St Mary's, and that sort of local government area. So one other thing is the public transport link. Of course, to service these huge expansions of education and health, there needs to be a reasonable transport system, and there's connections from Penrith really all the way through what we call a bus link or a busway, all the way into closer in and connects to other major cities such as Parramatta. So there's a lot going on. The state government has essentially committed to $4.5 billion commitment to of an express train from Penrith to the city, reducing the travel times by around 10 minutes. So there's certainly, when the government sort of looks at that area, it's not sort of something that they go, well, it's so far away from the CBD, let's not worry about it. It's part of the strategic plan. This document really highlights that concept of when we buy real estate, we need to actually follow the town plan to a strategic vision on where we're going to buy real estate. And there's no use sort of buying real estate in the middle of nowhere if it's got no strategic or economic benefit. Now, like we've been saying for quite a while now, the idea of employment, the idea of low unemployment, good jobs means better wages means better house values. And we're seeing that in areas which are essentially just good, fashioned, working class, high growth population areas. We're seeing better outcomes from both a rental point of view and a capital growth point of view than we are seeing in beautiful lifestyle marketplaces where there is essentially low employment opportunities but beautiful, beaches and tourism and things like that. So it's something that I think if you just sort of have a glance at the deal, you might not appreciate that Penrith itself is quite a strategic part of the Sydney 2036 plan, and St Mary's is certainly part of that as well. So thanks for listening. Take a look at the information, and if anything, it's worth a good read. Cheers.